Happy Thursday. I almost said happy Wednesday because I'm so used to doing my lives on Wednesday, but we have moved them to Thursday and I'm using my nice standing desk today. So it's great to be with you and great to be standing as well. So I hope you guys are doing terrific today. As you pop on, please let me know who you are and where you're tuning in from. I guess tuning in maybe isn't the right thing, but where you're joining me from would be great. So I am excited to talk to you guys today about what to do after you get your first sponsor. So I think a lot of podcasts out there are super pumped. They're super excited to get that first advertiser. But then it's like, okay, you've got the advertiser, now what? Like, what are the next steps for you? And so I wanted to kind of cover that with you. And we're going to start today by talking about setting expectations. So setting expectations is so important with advertisers because advertisers, oh, hey, Wayne, thanks for joining me from Singapore. Great to see you. Advertisers are advertising with you because they are looking for advertising results, right? Now, there certainly are companies out there that may potentially choose to advertise with you because they like you, because they want to support you, they want to support maybe the content you're creating, or they've got some motivation behind advertising with your show that is not based on results. But my experience has been 99% of the time when people give you ad dollars, they're giving you ad dollars because they are looking for a return on their investment. They want to see that they are going to get sales from what it is that you're doing for them and for what they're paying for you for. So it's really important to set expectations with your advertisers. And what I mean by that is you've just signed the contract with this new sponsor. What are they hoping to gain from the partnership? So I would recommend sitting down. We do onboarding calls with all of the advertisers that we bring on. We sit down with them and we say, okay, at the end of this campaign, what is going to make you want to continue advertising with us? What is going to make you want to sign up and do this again? And does that mean communication is super important to you? Does that mean results are super important to you? And oh, by the way, if results are important to you, what does that look like? Do you want to get 10 signups? Do you want to get 100 signups? How many signups do you want to get? I tell this story, and if you've listened to a lot of my content, you probably have heard it before. But one of my favorite stories about expectations comes from my days when I was in trade show production. We had a flooring company that exhibited at one of our events. And toward the end of the event, I went up to him and I asked how the event was going. And he said it was awful, that it hadn't produced any results. And I was like, really? The event has been so busy? Like, I'm so surprised this hasn't been successful for you. And he's like, yeah, we only got 300 leads. And I was like, you got 300 leads? Like, this was like a relatively like small trade show event. And so I was really shocked that he wasn't happy with 300 leads. And he's like, well, no, we had hoped we would get 3,000. Well, 3,000 people were like the number of attendees at the event. And so I was like, yeah, that's never going to happen. Like 100% of the people coming through are not going to give you their information. So what I realized in that moment is that I had done a really poor job of setting expectations. So it's important for you to know, how are they going to be tracking results from a sales perspective? How many leads are they hoping to get? Does that translate into dollars? You could talk to them about the lifetime value of a customer for them, right? I just got off the phone with a SaaS company and hey, their monthly subscription is $20 a month, but they're not just going to get that $20, right? Like, what is the lifetime value of that customer is really important. So getting back to expectations, what kind of results do they want? What kind of communication do they want? And are there any other elements that are important to them that are really going to set the tone for the campaign and let them know, do they want to continue the relationship? So that's really important. Next, how can that advertiser succeed? So you need to ask yourself, how can you make this a successful relationship? And what I mean by that is that if I did an ad on my podcast one time for a product that no one had ever heard of before, do you think that advertiser is going to get ad results from that? No, absolutely not, right? They're not going to see a return on that investment because they weren't getting the exposure that they needed. So typically it takes 7 to 10 times for someone to hear about a product before they take action. But it can be more too, right? So Prose is a hair care product that advertises with us. And I feel like Prose is just like speaking to me. When I go on Instagram, I see their ads, they're running podcast ads, and my hair has been driving me nuts, right? So I am perfectly positioned to purchase their product, but I haven't purchased their product yet, right? I keep thinking I should go check it out. Like, I think I want to purchase their product, but I haven't done it yet. So part of the reason I haven't done it is because my pain point hasn't gotten great enough for me to make this purchasing decision. But what Prose has done is they've done a really good job of creating awareness about their product, right? So I have seen and heard their ad many times. So now it is very fully ingrained in me who they are. And so when you think about how is an advertiser going to succeed in your podcast, if they run one ad with you, are they going to be successful? No, right? If they run 3 ads, are they going to be successful with you? Potentially. But so what my recommendation is, especially when you get a first-time advertiser, is to look at that advertiser and think, what can I do to make this a success? Whether that's, hey, they bought 3 ads, but you know what? I'm going to give them 4, or I'm going to give them 5 because I've got open ad spots anyways, right? If you're not totally sold out, it doesn't hurt you to give them extra, right? Especially if they're a first-time advertiser. Perhaps you decide you want to put them in your social post. Perhaps you decide you want to send them out in your newsletter. Maybe you want to talk about them on your live, right? Like, who knows? But what is it that you can do for that advertiser to make sure that they experience success? So ask yourself that question because it's really important. Next, you should be doing host-read endorsement ads. And I would encourage you to try and love the product. And what I mean is try and love the product, right? So not try to love the product, but really look at the types of advertisers that you are getting. And once you have an advertiser, make sure that you really like that product. Now, I know we all want ad dollars, but I am always impressed with the podcasts that we work with when they turn down advertisers. And it's not because I'm excited they turn down somebody, because we work really hard to bring them. And then when they say no, we're pretty discouraged. But if you don't love the product that you are creating an ad for, it is going to come across in your voice. Your audience is going to know that you don't love this product, and it's going to sound really fake, right? So when somebody sends you a sample, make sure that you use the sample. If they want you to sign up for their software program, sign up for their software program, right? So experience that product. And as you are experiencing the product, think about it. Think about what are all the good parts about this product? How does it speak to you uniquely in your life, in your situation? And then bring all of that into your ad read, because that emotion, that connectedness to that product and then to your audience is what is going to equal success for your advertiser. So I know we talked about this idea of how do you create success, and that is through multiple impressions for that company, but it's also through a very engaged, authentic ad read. And I hear it all the time. You know, if your ad read is a good ad read, it is going to produce totally different results than an ad read that is done really poorly. I have had podcasts that we've worked with who've been like, I really don't like advertisers that much. I run their ads because I need to make money. And, you know, and I have even heard people, none of the shows we work with. And then of course, those people who don't like ads were like, why are you working with us? I'm not sure this is a good fit, you know? But if you don't like ads, or if you say something like, guys, we got to pay the bills, so I'm just going to do this ad read. Okay, we suffered through that together. Now it's over. Like, what kind of results do you think your advertiser is going to get? Not very good results. And the reality is that we all like to buy products and services. And if you have a product and service that you feel like could edify somebody's life, why not recommend it, right? That company is supporting you. They're supporting you and your efforts, your content creation, your baby that you've created through this podcast, right? So you need to feel comfortable standing up and giving a heartfelt, authentic read about the product. All right, next, engage with your audience. So what I mean by this is, how are you engaging with your audience around advertisers, period, but also potentially around this advertiser? So are there opportunities for you to engage with your audience and actually talk about that product? So an example would be, we were working with this felted slipper company, very cool company. And one of the podcasters that we had, they posted about them on their social media. And then they were like, hey, everybody tell us, post your pictures of your corgis, and they had like a whole chain going about like the corgis that people had bought, and they had taken pictures, and it was awesome, right? Because part of what you're trying to do in creating this community is you're trying to give your audience a chance to connect with you. And what a great way to connect with your audience. It's through the idea that they're joining a bit of a club, right? So it's like, hey, I got my MeUndies, and that guy's got his MeUndies, and everybody's got their MeUndies, and now you're part of the Joe Rogan Club because you got your MeUndies, right? And so how could you take your advertisers and really integrate them into the fabric of what it is that you're creating? Because it's going to benefit the advertiser, but it's also going to benefit you because it helps you to build community around a specific product. Again, that gets back to how much you like the products that you're advertising. I know one of our podcasts advertises the CBD product that she loves, and she buys it for her father-in-law, and she uses it herself. And she's not making this up, right? Like, she really loves this product, and she feels like it has helped her and helped her family. So is there a way that you can engage with your audience around the product that you're advertising? I'm curious too, if you guys want to put in the comments, are there any products that maybe you have found through a podcast ad that you really love? And have you maybe been able to connect with a podcast host through a product? Because I think that's really valuable. Next, you want to send your advertisers reporting. So what I mean by that is, okay, let's say you've got a campaign that's going. I would recommend a 3-month campaign is usually a really good place to start with new advertisers. So let's say you've got them signed up. They're going to be running for a 3-month period, and they're going to run an ad a week. You don't want to wait until the sponsorship is over in 3 months to say, oh, hey, Mr. Advertiser, do you think you want to do this again? You want to be in constant communication with them. So you want to be in front of that advertiser, telling the advertiser how successful their campaign is. And how you do that is you say, oh my gosh, look at all of these impressions I've given you. We had this many downloads. I went ahead and threw in this and that for you. And this is the kind of feedback my audience has about your product, right? So if you can provide that kind of reporting for the advertiser throughout the campaign, that is night and day going to change the experience that they have with you, because you need to be front and center with them. That's your role as the podcaster. If you're selling them ads, you need to be front and center. And what I mean by that is, unless you're working with very small companies, chances are that person's got a lot going on in their life, right? If they're a marketing person, they've got all kinds of ads being placed out there. And yes, of course, it's their job to check in on what's happening with the campaign. But ultimately, it's your job as the podcaster to say, oh, hey, remember you're running these ads with us? Oh, hey, remember how successful this is? And, they might come back and say things like, oh, we haven't seen any conversions yet, or we haven't, this isn't working as well as we had thought, or something. It's your job to show them how well it is working, right? And so if you can show them the level of engagement they have gotten from advertising on your show, that is going to help them decide to essentially, renew on your show. So really, really important. And I would say for reporting, definitely send them your downloads, right? So also send them links to the ad reads. They may or may not listen to the show, so make sure you're sending them a link to the ad read. And as soon as it goes live, shoot it over to them. The other side note is that we don't usually ever proof ads. If they are live, host-read, endorsement authentic ads, if you proof it past the advertiser, it can lose some of its appeal. And so I always tell our advertisers, hey, a big part of what we're selling you is that authentic, nature. And we don't want to disturb that by proofing it. Because what happens when you proof something? People want to make changes, right? That's inevitable. So if you don't proof it, it's better. But you should always send them reports right after, right? So, hey, this is how this worked. This is how that worked. And send them a link to that read. All right. Lastly, let's talk about renewing. So you definitely do want to ask your advertisers to renew with you, right? That's a very important point, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to build long-term relationships. Now, I would recommend, as you're thinking about renewing an advertiser, to think about not trying to sell someone too much. And what I mean by that is if you sell an advertiser on half or 3/4 of your inventory over a 6-month or a year period, your audience is going to get burned out, and inevitably they're going to see diminishing returns. So it's better, from my perspective, if you do a longer term campaign, right? So let's say they do a test with you for 3 months. Then you go back and you're like, okay, this was awesome, and you guys need to do this again. But instead of doing 3 months now, let's put together a campaign where you have one ad per month for a year. Or maybe you have 2 ads every other month. Or, you want to create some space between the ad reads, because if they're all back to back, we've all experienced it, right? We're like, dear Lord, if I hear another progressive ad, I'm just going to shoot myself. Like, I can't handle progressive. Please stop talking to me. So we don't want to do that, right? Like, we don't want to put so many ad impressions out there about the same product that our audience is frustrated with it. So as you're going to renew them, think about how you can create a frequency for them that is going to be interesting to the audience and pique their interest, but not so much that they get overwhelmed. The other important key with making sure your audience doesn't have advertiser overwhelm, make your ads interesting, right? So is it something people want to listen to? Next, make sure you're changing your ad as frequently as you can. Because part of it, gosh, the other night we were watching some random, show on some random, online streaming platform. And literally they had 5 progressive ads back to back, and it was the exact same progressive ad. And it was not a pretty experience, right? So if you have some variety in there, at least it's like, oh, here's this advertiser again, but this is a different read. And so I'm more interested in tuning into it as opposed to the same read over and over again. All right, that is what I have for you guys today. I hope that has been helpful for you. Congratulations on getting an advertiser. And when you do get your advertiser, make sure that you follow these steps. So just to recap, first, set expectations. Second, ask yourself how you can make this advertiser succeed with your show. Third, make sure that you actually try the product and do your best to love it. Fourth, engage with your audience around that product. Fifth, make sure you're sending reporting. And lastly, renew that advertiser. So thanks for being with me today. Thanks, Wayne, for showing up. And everybody else who didn't comment, I appreciate you being here. If you are interested in learning more about podcast advertising, please make sure that you're following me over on LinkedIn. And if you are a company interested in talking about podcast advertising, you can always head on over to TrueNativeMedia.com. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you again soon.